Hello everyone, I am Priyanka Tak, TGT Social Science, Sanskar School, Jaipur. Today we are going to start with a new chapter of geography, water. In this chapter, we will learn about what is water cycle, why is ocean water salty, availability of water, ocean circulation, waves, size of waves, wave parts, tsunami, tides, types of tides, spring tides and neap tides, tides around the world, and the importance of tides. Water is the basis of survival for all living beings. We cannot imagine even a single day without water. Water is one of nature's most important gifts to all living things. Essential to life, a person's survival depends on drinking water. The human body consists of many minerals, but nearly 55% of it is water. Huge quantities of water from the oceans and other water bodies evaporates and converts into vapor. It mixes with the air and moves around with the winds. Then again, it precipitates in the form of rain or snow and falls back on earth. This water once again flows around on the surface through rivers and joins back the oceans. The process by which water continuously changes form and circulates between the oceans, atmosphere and land is known as the water cycle. The sun's heat provides energy to evaporate water from the oceans, lakes, etc. on the earth's surface. Plants also lose water to the air by a process called transpiration. The water vapor eventually condenses, forming tiny droplets in clouds. When the clouds meet cool air over land, precipitation is triggered in the form of rain, sleet, or snow. Thus, water returns to the land or sea. Some of the water gets soaked into the ground. Some of the underground water is trapped between rock or clay layers. This is called groundwater. Now let us talk about what is saline water. Saline water is found in seas and oceans. This water contains dissolved salts and cannot be used for drinking purpose. Nearly 97% of the water available is in this form. As water flows through rivers, it picks up small amounts of mineral salts from the rocks and soil on the river beds. This slightly salty water flows into the oceans and seas. The water in the oceans only leaves by evaporating, but the salt remains dissolved in the ocean. It does not evaporate, so the remaining water gets saltier and saltier as time passes. 97% of the water on the earth is salty. Only 3% is fresh water. Fresh water is naturally occurring water on the earth's surface in ice sheets, ice caps, glaciers, ponds, lakes, rivers and streams, and underground as groundwater in aquifers and underground streams. Fresh water is generally characterized by having low concentrations of dissolved salts and other total dissolved solids. Now, let us know about ocean circulation. If you ever go close to a sea or even a lake, you would notice that the water is not static like a sheet. There are ripple-like formations and the water keeps moving slightly. Even a boat keeps swaying on the surface despite it being anchored. This is because the wind blowing on the surface keeps causing the water surface to move. But that is not all. Water keeps moving due to various reasons, which are: first is waves, second is gravitational pulls of the sun and moon, variations in temperature. This is also affected by the rotation of the earth. Now, what are waves? The waves are formed by the blowing of winds on the surface. It causes the water to move up and down and even along the direction of the wind. If you ever stand close to the shore, you would realize that the waves keep changing their size and intensity. What are size of waves? The size of a wave depends on the distance the wind blows over open surface of water, the length of time the wind blows, the speed of the wind. The greater these three, the larger is the wave. Small water bodies like ponds and lakes have lesser contact between the water surface and the wind, and therefore the waves may just look like ripples. The larger waves are found in the open ocean. What are wave parts? The crest is the highest part of the wave and the throw is the lowest. The distance between the crest and the throw is the wave height. In addition to winds, waves are also formed by undersea earthquakes or other sharp motions in the seafloor by volcanic activity. Such waves are called tsunami, a Japanese name for harbor waves, that can devastate entire coastlines. Such phenomenon can shift large amounts of water from the oceans to the shores in the form of huge waves and cause large-scale destruction. Now let us know about the difference between spring tides and neap tides. When the moon is full or new, the gravitational pull of the moon and sun are combined because the sun, the moon, and the earth are in the same line. At these times, the high tide are very high and the low tide are very low. This is known as a spring high tide. What is a neap tide? During the moon's quarter phases, the sun and moon work at right angles, causing the bulges to cancel each other. The result is smaller difference between high and low tides and is known as a neap tide. Thus, if you compare, the water levels would be different during full and new moon days as compared to the quarter moon days. If you listen to the news, you would have heard about ships getting stuck near beaches and then rescuers waiting for a system called high tide to pull out such ships. So now let us know about what are tides. Tides are a phenomenon where the level of water rises or falls. This happens alternatively, that is, after a high tide, there would be a low tide and again a high tide followed by a low tide. Tides are experienced in oceans and seas. There are two types of tides, spring tides and neap tides. Tides around the world. Tides changes are different in various parts of the world. Near the equator, there is very little noticeable change because a large volume of water spread out over a large area. The highest tides in the world occur at the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. The bay is very narrow, so water rushing in from the oceans can rise and fall up to 20 meters a day. Now, the importance of tides. The phenomenon of tides affect many aspects of life of people living on the shores. High tides are helpful as they increase the height of the water near the shores, thus enabling big ships to sail off safely. Diamond Harbour in West Bengal makes use of high tide. High tide raise the level of waters in the rivers that makes sailing from the river ports easier. Tides help in the generation of hydroelectricity, which is non-polluting and a renewable source of energy. High tides help in carrying and sediments from the mouth of the river and prevent silting of the harbor. The fishing industry is helped by the rise and fall of the tides. During high tide, fish come near the coast. Low tides, enable fishermen to go into the open seas, and high tides help them to return to the coast.